Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Nguyen, and the Insider crew.
And welcome everyone to episode 66. It's a very special day that we're recording this. It is June 8th. And Manny, what does June 8th mean?
That is the birthday of Porsche. Oh, by the way, Alex, did you notice his voice changes as soon as the microphone turns on? Over dinner it was a whole different voice, but now it's the DJ Vu Nguyen.
DJ, s'il vous plaît.
But it has the same erotic, flavor to it. For me, at least.
Oh boy, here we go.
It does.
No, it's not. That's all good.
It's all good. Normally, I only have to worry about editing Manny, but having you here.
You can't edit Alex.
All right, so with that, let's do our proper introductions. As Manny was saying, today is June 8th. Happy 75th birthday to Porsche. At the table, we have, of course, Manny and Damon and myself, Robert Forsyth at the controls, and a very special not only guest, but a dear friend of ours, Mr. Alexander Fabig, Vice President, Individualization and Classic at Porsche AG.
Thank you so much for having me, making me part of the Insider crew.
You've always been a part of the Insider crew. It's just formal today because you're actually sitting in the podcast.
When you become vice president, is that when they start calling you Mr. Fabig?
Yes.
Because that was,
Yes.
When I first heard that, I was looking for your father. I heard him referring to Mr. Fabig, and then I realized they were talking about you.
You always have to keep in mind, in my mind, I'm 100 years old.
Now, speaking of Mr. Fabig, I remember when we first were about to meet you, and more importantly, Manny was getting ready to meet you. And I'm not sure what you had in mind in terms of your first introduction of Manny, but the two of you were much more formal when you first met.
That's because Alex was very serious, and he was wearing a suit and a tie. So
You're always talking about these split personalities in me. This one Alex and the other one. So you first met the official one.
The official one, yes.
But nevertheless, it was love at first sight. with you personally, but also with your club. And today, really, after quite a long time that we go back together. I think it was 2010 probably, or 2009 even, maybe.
And to let our members know that your stop by here today was a big effort on your part. And we want to thank you for stopping by because you're, of course, here this weekend for the celebration at PEC Atlanta, the auction, of course, the auction of the Classic Club Coupe. But you took a detour to be with us, and it hasn't been easy for you.
Well, that's true on the one hand. On the other hand, it's a great pleasure for me. And it really is an honor. And seriously, you and your 150,000 members? 55, I'm sorry. 55,000.
Very important to be exact, as you know.
155,000 members. You are such an important part of the 75 years that we are celebrating. That's why it really is a pleasure and an honor for me to be part of this group. You calling me a friend, I call you friends for a long time. And it's great to be here for the first time in your headquarters. What you built up, as you always like to call it this little auto club, which is a great operation, very professional, and even more important, very emotional. So that's very special for me to be here, and it's worth all the effort, even though it's now 4 o'clock in the morning.
I know, and we're just trying.
Let's share with what Alex did as far as you woke up.
6 a.m. in Germany.
But you woke up in where?
In Stuttgart.
In Stuttgart,
in Degerloch, south of the southern part of Stuttgart. Then I went to Frankfurt, to the airport.
You drive or take a train?
I drove a great Panamera Turbo S
hybrid. So you literally flew.
I flew because in Germany it's a bank holiday today. So at 6 o'clock in the morning.
And gas is really cheap now.
I just want to make you aware they do listen to this podcast in Germany as well. So don't self-incriminate.
I thought that the hard way.
I have a subscription model with the authorities in terms of speed limits. So that's why they that's a different topic. So I arrived in Frankfurt later this morning. Then I flew to JFK I was a bit late there. That's why I missed the plane here
To
to
BWI.
Baltimore. But as I love cars and I love spending time in cars, I got myself a car and did some road tour here in like 3 hours 30,
Yeah.
something like this.
Now, in Germany, where can you go in 3.5 hours? Because for Americans, 3.5 hours isn't that long of a drive necessarily. It's a drive, but it's not. We can go back the same day, but I remember being told that for Germans, 3.5 hours, that's like a vacation drive.
Yeah, and I tell you, I went into this trap so often when we're talking about, spending time here in the US. And you were talking about the alternatives. Do I need to take a plane? I can do this by car. And then you find out, oh, that's a 12 hours drive. Can go twice around the country in Germany. Yeah, no. So 3 hours, that would be a typical like holiday ride to the south of Germany, for example. Yeah. So for here it was okay, and it was the easiest and fastest way, I think, to arrive here.
Well,
and thank you very much for the welcome.
Thank you for making the efforts, and I know the time is not on your side in terms of you should really be in bed, but we've wanted and look forward to you being here and having you on the podcast. And it's not even going to end after the podcast. Hopefully, if your eyes are still open. You've never been to Washington, D.C., which is about 40 minutes from here.
He asked, he said, how close is Washington, D.C.? And we told him less than probably half hour.
Yeah.
But this time of night without traffic. And he said, basically was hinting that he wanted to go. So
we're going to do it.
We're going to do a nighttime tour of the monuments and the
hopefully we'll
nation's capital.
I'm looking so much forward to it. And as I've never been there, you can tell me anything.
Anything.
So probably you just take me to some city here around the corner. And tell me this is it.
We'll take him to Bowie.
Yeah, exactly. And what monument are you going to point out there?
Exactly.
The drive-through liquor store or something?
All right. Well, before we get into all the full press and amazing stuff that dropped today on June 8th, we just want to do a quick recap of our last week, and I can just drop a quick reminder that I did do a day trip with Bogdan to New York. We were invited to a screening of Racing with the Giants with Mobile One and Haggerty, and they had it at a drive-in theater in Brooklyn. It was super cool. We drove up. It actually took 5 hours to get up there because of traffic, and only took 3 and some change to come back, but it was well worth it to see Metro New York members, see our sponsors and supporters at that event. And then I just got back. I almost didn't make it back today, but I went to Salt Lake City with Jason for an orientation. But while he was sitting in orientation, I thought I would make 2 videos for Damon. We went over to P&B Performance. Eric Shea and his folks took us for a tour of their facility where they showed us how they redo the calipers if you want them restored. And here's those of you that are watching on YouTube, just a quick clip of what the video will contain. And we take you from A to Z of how they receive, clean, restore, and get them right back out the door for you. And it's an
I was
amazing
about to ask
process.
what's going on there, but I'm going to be editing the video.
Yes,
right? So
you'll learn.
I can't ask.
You'll learn. All right, so that's a quick rundown for me and last week. Manny, over to you.
Well, my big news was I was featured in the Wall Street Journal.
Oh, yes, he
Yes.
was.
I'm just shocked as you are.
I don't know what to say.
They even sent a photographer in.
Let's say sent the photographer 3 hours, and they
In the sports-
They still
sports
couldn't make
part.
me pretty. There, see right there. Look, see it's
All right.
Yes,
3 hours for a photo shoot?
3 hours.
And they used how many photos?
2 photos.
2 photos.
Or 3. One of my engine on my 964. So the article was about the e-fuels, and they were just basically asking my opinion on what club members and my fellow Porsche friends think about e-fuels, and it was all very positive about what Porsche, and because Porsche's probably the leading force behind e-fuel, they contacted someone from the Porsche club, and I guess because Rob Sass didn't have any old cars right now that are air cooled, he referred them to me since he knows that I've been following the e-fuel story, and yeah, that was a pretty cool surprise to be in the Wall Street Journal.
I didn't realize how quickly they were going to come out with it.
I didn't either until a Saturday or Sunday. I got a text message with a screened shot of the on-screen article saying, I didn't know you were going to be in this journal.
There you go.
Well, it's great to hear that also over here the topic is related to Porsche. As you said, we are pushing hard here. We are really like a pioneering spirit in this context. And it's always important to point out, it's not the alternative to e-mobility. It's an add-on for other use cases, for the cars that are on the road already. You've explained it to
Yes.
them. Obviously.
Hopefully, I can drive my Cayman for the next 20, 30 years.
For as long as you
Yes,
want. The
yes,
idea is
yes,
you'll be
yes.
able to drive your Cayman for as long as you want to. And then for other purposes, if you want to get into electric car for whatever you might be doing, but you have the option to do so.
Yeah, and driving the car longer is, by the way, also a very good contribution to sustainability. To use the goods as long as we
possible.
can.
Yeah, for sure.
That's,
That's a good
also-
point.
Also great to see that people are also outside of our organization are taking care of part supply, because this obviously is the backbone of keeping our cars on the
Absolutely.
road. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the questions I get is, well, he asked me, it was funny, he said, do you feel like you're a dinosaur? That, you and your friends are dinosaurs? And I said, no, it's horses. And he said, horses? What do you mean horses? And I said, well, horses were the main form of transportation in the 1800s, or at least every Western I've seen, they were on horses. And I said, but no one uses a horse to go to work anymore. But anytime somebody brings a horse anywhere, people love to go watch the horse. They'll go watch him race. They go into the fence line of a farm, and the horses are beautiful animals.
And the equestrian industry is huge.
I heard, whether it's true or not, that there's more horses now than there was in the 1800s. And I say this is what's going to be the future of our internal combustion engines. Odds are we'll probably be using an alternative, whatever that ends up being. I don't know. But the cars we have now will still be around, and hopefully, like Porsche e-fuel, the fuel will be able to be easily attainable, and we'll be driving the cars around, and people will just marvel that we trusted these things to get us from point A to point B, because there's so many moving parts that could go wrong. But it's also an incredible joy to see a mechanical engine, at work. So yeah,
That's the perfect comparison with the horses. And let me add one more point, which is, I think, very, very crucial. The main critical point is always that for efficiency reason, the electricity is better used directly in batteries than in producing e-fuels. But that's only true if you talk about the electricity that is produced here. If we talk about the electricity that is kind of left over with renewable energy, like we use it in Patagonia or in Chile,
Right.
where the pilot factory is, that's a different game, because the wind is there, and you can't use it on batteries there. So that's why the efficiency point is not really hitting the point here.
Exactly. So you also got to drive something special in addition to...
yeah, we did a 1 mile review. Bob Miller from Speed Motorsports called us up and said he had sold his 64 356C Cabriolet, and wanted to know if we wanted to do a review on it before he shipped it out. He was shipping it out the next day. So luckily the weather was fine. Luckily Damon had some free time. And so when we do these videos, they're about how long, Damon? 10 minutes, maybe 12 minutes?
Well, nowadays they started out like that. Nowadays
almost
they're
20.
like between 15 to 30. So
But it takes just filming alone is over 2 hours.
yeah, 2 hours for quick.
But
3
people,
if we have a
people
couple
are always
hours.
amazed how long it takes to film.
Yeah.
Because they're used to watching the video, and they think that's how long it takes to make the video. And Bob was, I think, surprised at how long it takes to set everything up perfectly, how to set the cameras, so on and so forth. Yeah. But yeah, the 356C is, I think 2 weeks prior or 3 weeks prior, I drove a Sport Classic. And so that was
Which is out now.
night and day. Yeah, that video's out now. And but it's still the same feeling of joy, even with 75 horsepower. But with that top down and hearing that engine from behind, you don't have to be going very fast to have a good time in that car. It's a pretty cool car.
I can't wait until the video's edited, because I drove a 356 SC64, just like the one you drove, except the one I drove was restored, and the one you drove was all original.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that as well.
So performance is not only measured in horsepowers, but also in joy of driving.
Absolutely.
Is that
Oh,
right?
yes. I tell people this all the time who Porsche builds amazing cars now, but they have people spoiled a little bit in that with all this horsepower, they've done amazing strides in keeping the car safe. So you have a lot of the car doing the driving. Not self-driving, it's just when you make a mistake, the car can correct it.
Or save you.
Well, we
importantly.
joke that PSM means please save me.
Yep.
And with the 356, there's nothing. There's no ABS. There's no power steering. It's pure driving. So you don't have to be going that fast to scare yourself. So that's why I try to tell people, like, 75 horsepower doesn't sound much. Maybe in a sport classic it would be really terrible, but in the 356C, which is much lighter, you get it going 80 miles an hour around a corner and you might see God.
Yep.
So what's the latest going on with you, Damon?
Yeah, well, I've had a busy couple weeks. I think I mentioned in the last podcast that I hit a deer in my Golf TDI, and so the insurance company, it's repairable. And then I get a call today, and the company will go unnamed and all that fun stuff. But she asked me, "So you haven't given a statement yet?" I'm like, "I gave you a statement the night I called, or I should say 1:45 a.m. on a Sunday when I hit the deer." And basically, she seemed really confused. Is your car at the shop? Well, I don't know. You scheduled the tow, didn't you? Well, I don't know if I did. So I, told her, you should probably figure this out. She gave me a call back, and she said, "You know what? Your car isn't totaled. It is repairable. I'm glad we're on the same page. So how's your rental car?"
What rental car?
And I didn't get a rental car. I have 3 cars. I'm driving one of my own. So it's just been one of those headaches, and half the day, my stomach was in butterflies.
But the good news is
Yeah.
the car is going to be repaired.
Yes. Well, there's no supplemental yet, so we'll see.
Oh.
Yeah, so it might be another. I'm crossing my fingers because I love that car.
Again, just be thankful. You're okay. You hit a deer. The
Yep.
car is going to be what is.
Yeah, exactly. My one recommendation is go back, watch our Tech Tactics Live episode on insurance,
Yeah.
because that was a few weeks ago now.
Yeah.
And when I got my insurance, I wish I had known about the things that we learned on that
That's
show.
a good tip.
And I'm not having a good experience.
Yeah.
But
So-
it happens.
So I see fuses on this table.
Yeah, there are some fuses. So a year or so ago, and this is, when I can get a little bit lazy, about a year ago, maybe a year and a half, I was using the Porsche OE air pump from my Porsche Cayman, and all of a sudden it just stopped working. So I plugged it in, blew a fuse, but I've never replaced a fuse before. I've done a whole bunch of stuff, never replaced a fuse. So I plugged it into a different outlet. It started up and then turned off. So I'm like, well, I guess I'm driving home on 25 PSI tires.
Oh.
Which was fine. But then I put it into the Golf and tested it.
Blew that fuse.
Blew that fuse.
Something must be wrong with your pump.
It's the pump. So I ended up going and getting genuine Porsche fuses, which I didn't realize you didn't need to do. And the car worked.
That's all for you, Alex.
The car
for
works
you,
now.
Alex.
That's how Alex drives his Turbo S.
So, but I fixed
David
my
wanted
car.
to make sure he got Porsche approved fuses.
Does it,
Yeah,
does it
exactly.
say does it say that little P on it anywhere? I've never had Porsche.
No,
fuses.
these are just
the
general
trademark.
fuses, I
They're
think,
just
right?
blade fuses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
here's one.
All right. So today was a big day because we've been talking about what's coming down the road, and we all in the office here gathered around the table to watch the live stream. It was at 3:40 p.m. here in the office, and we've been awaiting the big news. And we were saying, some people were saying Porsche ST is coming. I knew it wasn't, but I couldn't tell you guys that it
I
wasn't.
feel like such an idiot.
But Alex, hopefully you're proud of me, because when you tell me stuff or other people tell me stuff and say it's confidential, I kept it even confidential from these guys.
Yeah.
But it feels so good to now say, yes, it's out. Mission X.
It's something bigger than the 911 ST. What is it? I don't know.
Mission X. So what do you guys think?
It's amazing.
Well, let's first describe what Mission X, in case the listeners don't know what Mission X is.
Well, what would you describe it as, Alex?
Well, I missed the presentation as I was on the plane,
You
so
were on
I
the
have
plane.
no idea. Mission X is the vision and the idea of Porsche for the hypercar in the e-mobility world, and bringing together performance on, I would say, different levels, from design to on-street performance to racetrack performance, and also obviously design is still one of the most important buying factors and reasons for a Porsche.
It's beautiful.
So it also shows new elements that will influence the design of our Porsche cars in the upcoming years or even decades, because this is really a big jump into the future.
Yeah, so what the 959 did for future cars, and what the Carrera GT and the 918 Spider and all those cars gave back to the street-driven cars, several years afterwards, because it was all part of that initial project. And this car here, this is a concept. It is not going to be sold. People won't be buying this car per se, but this is the initial study for what the future will hold for electric mobility
Yeah,
at Porsche.
they'll buy the production version.
That's what they said about the 959. 959 came out as Group B.
That's
And
true.
then 2 or 3, I just read the article, I should notice. I think 3 years later they came out with the prototype. And I think with the 918 was something similar. They had a concept, and then they came out with the prototype.
Probably you can say customer demand drove us into this
yeah.
direction.
Yes,
So
yes,
let's see what happens here.
Yeah. So you hear about 2.2 pounds per horsepower. To put that, into perspective, I think of a GT2 RS as a fast vehicle. Do you know what the pounds per horsepower for that car is?
I don't, but my Cayman's 12.2.
Yeah, 12.2 for your Cayman, right?
It's got to be like 9 something, right?
So for a GT2 RS, it's about 4.5, 5 pounds.
Really?
And this is 2.2.
Yeah.
I don't know that my brain is going to be able to process how fast this vehicle is going to be. That's insane.
Did you catch up that the downforce of this car is higher than the GT3 RS?
Yes.
Yeah. With no huge wing
Yeah.
and all that. So this looks like a race car compared to any other Porsche supercar that I've
It
seen. in the
does,
past, or
but it
concept.
doesn't look like crazy wild, right? It's still very clean. It's very sleek.
It doesn't look like an electric car.
Yeah. When I say race car, it's all the aero, all the holes and tunnels that the air goes through. That's pretty amazing for a car like that.
Before I found out it was all electric, when we got the shots ahead of time, before I read the text, I was looking at the back and I thought it was a hybrid because I could have swore I saw exhaust pipes. And then I found out it was all electric. They did a great job of making a car not look electric.
So I noticed the interior of that car, the steering wheel is a yoke. Do you think the yoke is the future of how you'll be steering cars?
I don't think so, because for Tesla's Nürburgring run, they put the round steering wheel back.
That's so amazing.
Oh, yeah.
They went back to, I wonder who, eventually the driver said, if you want to break the record, we need a regular steering wheel.
Yeah, I don't think a yoke's going to be
Yeah.
a thing
There's
for
a lot of
street
stuff
cars.
that the prototypes have on them. If you look back, that I remember the 918, the exhaust was on the ground, on the sides, and the first thing we said was, this will never make it into production. Looks cool, but it won't make it.
But then when they said, "Oh, it's going to be at the top," we're like, "Well, that's never going to happen." And look what they did. It's on the top.
For Porsche, usually it's form follows function. In prototypes, you are allowed to go maybe one step further. So here, in terms of making use of all the design possibilities, that's what the colleagues did with the steering wheel.
And that windshield is right off the 917, including the extra glass on top.
like the solarium that's across the top.
And I think that was for the bank tracks for Daytona, so the drivers could see the whole track, because when you're banked at that angle, it kind of blinds you from looking ahead. And when we saw before we saw the actual photos, they teased everyone on Instagram with shadow shot, if you will, in front of the car. And that's the first thing I thought was that's the 917 with the way the fenders. I love how Porsche incorporates family characteristics into their cars.
Yeah, and those doors, man.
Now, in this particular photo, I don't see it, but I remember seeing a little caricature of a cheetah on the side of the car.
Yeah, Jim pointed that out earlier.
Yeah, I saw that on one of the...
It's on the display car that for whatever presentation happened earlier.
So I need to find out the significance
Alex,
of
what does that mean?
So you know what I did look up? I looked up how you say cheetah in Indonesian, but I was like, maybe that's the name of it's going to be because of Taycan and Macan and stuff like that. I'm looking at Alex. Is he giving me any blinkings of the eyes, or I don't know? Someone stuck it on there. It's gonna be interesting to see. Someone knows it's there for a reason.
Someone. It's not me.
Yeah.
You didn't put that sticker on there.
I didn't put a sticker on. No, but what you said before is absolutely right. I think this is one great and outstanding example of the exterior design being really clean, being elegant, and being very performant, but at the same time not as aggressive maybe. We're talking about all the holes that you usually have, all the aero type topics. Here, the engineers and the designers found a way to keep the performance, but having at the same time
a full-bodied look in a
full
sense,
body look,
yeah.
exactly.
And you could, you can imagine this literally as it sits or as it's shown. Could be a road-going car. You know, sometimes when concept cars come out, you're just like, yeah, that's no way ever going to make it to the street. But you look at this, you're like, huh, I can see how this could make it. I mean, it's not, the form of it is not so far away from, say, a 918 Spider, right? It's not that crazy. So it's,
What do you think about the doors?
I think it's cool. I hope that becomes a thing.
It'll be interesting if they keep if you look at the glass, it's
Better have a good air conditioning system.
yes.
Yeah, but I see the thing is my problem is I don't know how does that follow for like NHTSA regulations, and once you get regulations into things, then they start taking the fun stuff off the car.
Yeah. But yeah, those little windows, you see those on race cars, right?
Well, look at the Taycan, how much that looked like the prototype.
Yeah.
I mean, I was amazed. Even to the wheels, they got a good job of almost replicating the wheels that originally came on the car.
Now, what was the Taycan, the Mission
E.
Mission E, and then
Mission R.
The Mission R. Yeah. This has a lot of Mission R styling cues to it.
Yeah,
I think this is more using the word again, elegant.
Yeah.
Mission R was more that to me immediately. I looked at it and knew it was an electric car.
Yeah.
But this,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I thought this was like the 918.
The roof reminds me of that, and it's funny when we got the press release. We got the press release before the photos, and they talked about how the glass dome roof that's carbon fiber reinforced. I'm thinking as I'm riding with no photos. Mission R. Oh. Now it doesn't look exactly like that. It doesn't have all the sort of, I think, cross sort of carbon fiber beams, but there's a little bit of that in there. You got the full glass dome.
So kudos to Damon. If you haven't read, there's a cheetah. There's a cheetah. Yeah. But once we got the press release, he and Rob and Manny, all got together and brainstormed, and we came out with our own article online, and of course we shared it with all of our folks. And I think what sometimes people miss, like they're like, oh, this is a car only for the top people with the biggest budgets that'll ever have. And we talked about here how this car is, going to lead into technology that'll, flow downstream to all models. But probably the biggest thing that I think people forget is how cool is it that the manufacturer that we love is still cranking out two-door sports cars, no matter what engine it's in. Because if you look at all the other manufacturers out there, they're all hanging their hats on, they're killing two-door cars, they're killing sedans, and they're going for, mini SUVs or big SUVs. How cool is it that...
It's interesting you bring this up, because if you think about the presentation, I don't know, people listening, if you got to see the presentation, it was obviously open to the public, there was no four doors.
Nope. Well, no. There was. So at the end, when they brought all the cars out, there was a Macan in the lineup.
Oh, that must be when we left the room. I thought it was over.
Yeah, man, you got to stay to the end, the end of the credits. But you're right, though. I mean, it's still very much sports car oriented, and I think that's why most of us fell in love with the brand. We know the heritage. What are they doing this weekend, right? They're
More
racing.
celebration.
And June 8th,
racing,
and I wrote an article, it's out already on our website. June 8th is when they got the registration approved for the first sports car Porsche, the 356 1, as they call it. And because Porsche as a company was already in business since 1930, and they were doing design work, engineering. They were an engineering firm, but this was the first time they would have a car with their name on it. And it was a sports car, so I think it was appropriate. And it was this is exactly what I was hoping that we would see. I was hoping we weren't going to see a special edition 911, that we were going to see a unique car. You know.
I told you.
Yeah, I know.
You just got to believe me.
I know.
Today it's all about 75 years of Porsche. We will come back to the 60 years of the 911 later on this year.
Then we can talk more about things that you guys are excited about. But so Alex, you're truly the insider back, in Germany. So how do I say? So projects such as Mission X, like, how wide of a group of people have knowledge on that, and how far back does it go? And I'm sure the board has to approve everything. Like, do you see some of that? And is there stuff you can share with us?
But definitely a very small group of people.
Yeah.
It really is an inner circle, and it's really the boss himself, Oliver Blume, who is deeply involved together with a small group of engineers and, most important, Michael Mauer, our vice president of design. And these people start with an idea, with a vision, with a concept. And then they make the first kind of layouts, not in terms of drawings, but in terms of what's the car concept,
The goals of the car.
exactly.
Yeah.
What's and what you described just before. What's the soul of the car? Yeah. What should it stand for? What should it represent? And projects like this, when you see now this, operational car standing on a in a presentation, you can definitely guess that work or first ideas, first discussion started probably 3 years earlier, and the real work like 2 years. You need
2 years
for such a car. Yeah.
So I got to give it to you all because I chuckle when we quote unquote see spy shots of people asking about, is there going to be an RS Spider, is there going to be a GT2 RS? And I mean, if you want to, you are certainly capable of keeping things a secret. And when these spy shots come up, I have to believe that you actually opened up the valve a little bit. Not you personally, but Porsche opened up the valve a little bit to give people a little taste of what might be coming. And if someone happens to be there with the camera or something like that, then it gets spread out as it's orchestrated, right? Like it can't be completely. You guys are good at keeping secrets.
I would say we wouldn't call someone up and tell him. Wait for us,
Right.
This afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Yeah. No.
But if things happen,
then
they happen.
They happen, right?
And I mean, it would be more dramatic for us if no one would care.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
right.
That could be the other side. So,
Sure.
I would say it's great for the brand that there is so much excitement about it.
You should have seen these two.
rumors.
You should have seen these two like at the beginning of the presentation. They were just like on the edge of their seats and just waiting for all the details.
Actually, so we got to see, they send the press, the media, information ahead of time so we can read the article. And so we were on our own conference call, and we were waiting for our editor to get the email, and we kept on refreshing. And like somebody said, it's like you're waiting for a girl to call you.
Waiting to get our ass to prom.
And so we were trying to fill up time with the call, talking about other things and wondering what it could be, waiting for the information to come out.
And then we read the details together. We read it through, and we were very excited. So, anything else you want to talk about Mission X, or I wanted to go kind of into our relationship and tie it in with what's going on this weekend. If you don't have anything else on Mission X that you want to share,
I think everything is said. I'm happy to hear that you like it, that you're all excited.
So if you want to buy one, you contact your Porsche
dealer.
dealer.
You just let me know.
Send Alex your deposit.
I do have one question actually, and it's not I don't want to use the Mission X as the example here, but the 918 Spider, how if somebody bought a 918 Spider, how does exclusive manufacturer get involved?
A great question. We offer the individualization of the car which is not part of the configurator or of the catalog. So whenever, and for these kind of cars / customers, this is a very relevant topic to personalize these cars. And to be really honest, for the 918 Spider, at the start of the project, we haven't completely foreseen the amount of special wishes that customers asked us to realize. In the end, we made a lot of things happen, and there are spectacular 918 Spiders out there that have been individualized to the most personal car X-Factory. So that means also for these cars, and this is kind of similar to our standard series production cars. And when you order your car, you spec it, and then you tell your dealer that you have the special wishes, different materials in the interior, design, paint on the exterior, for example. And then there is a given procedure how these special wishes are transferred to the factory 1 in Zuffenhausen. And then my colleagues work on the realization, and really every Sonderwunsch car is a little development project for itself. And the customer is deeply involved. And as I quote you very often, it's not just the car in this case, it's the process. Because for the customers, most of the time, it's a great joy and also excitement to be not only a customer and purchasing something, but really creating it, being part of the process, being the designer, the project manager. Of course, we support the customer with a designer. It's Grant Larson in most of the cases, and with project people and with engineers. But the customer is really all the time in the driver's seat, and he tells us what he would like us to develop and come up with, and then it's a discussion. And more often than not, the day of the delivery is of big happiness on the one hand. On the other hand, it's kind of some kind of sadness, because the journey is over for the moment, at least.
And you were part of that journey too, not just the customer.
Yeah. So we offer the customer to just do it next time with the
I was about
next
to say,
car.
we
have a solution for that.
We have a solution. Just do it again, next model.
So it sounds like you can. You guys do some pretty crazy stuff. If somebody asks, I feel like you guys will do it. And it sounds like for something, should Porsche make a hypercar for the 918 Spider, there people could do that as well. They could go pretty far with what they did with Porsche exclusive manufacturer.
Yes, basically everything is allowed from the beginning. There are only very few limits that we would tell you right from the start. For example, we wouldn't take over design elements from other brands, for example. Right. Or we wouldn't rebuild limited cars. So if you want to have, the 250 first 997 Sport Classic, we wouldn't do that. That's not going to happen. Yeah. But other than that, as creative or crazy as you like to be, we would accept it. We would look into that, and we divided the whole project into 2 phases, and we would start with the concept phase first. And in the concept phase, which is usually 12 months, we give the customer a team of, as I said, designer, engineers, project managers, and they work on the idea of the customer. And you have basically 2 groups of people. You have the ones who are who have a vision but not a clear concept yet. So we work on that together. And then you have other customers who are very experienced. They come with, like books already.
Their notes.
It's just, I've done everything. You just have to build it.
I know some PCA members like that.
Yeah, for sure.
So and that's also exciting for everyone involved to manage the relationship, also to manage expectations, and to find the right way for each customer. So there is no basic recipe for everyone. It's really very individual all of the time. And for the more special the cars are, like the GT3 RS at the moment, the more special wishes we see from our customers.
So you talk about the special cars, but from the other side, when I was in New York, one of your customers, he sees it as it's very special to him, because it's really interesting that he had a beautiful, very dark blue Speedster, and I can't tell you how many names that he was so happy to work with on your side, that they truly do feel involved. I mean, like, how often do you get to build a car and know personally the person that's going to pick the fabric, help you choose the paint, or follow it along the line as it's being built? Who's the manager of it? Who's going to be coordinating the shipping and everything? I mean, it's a very intimate process. And I think that's why you get them so excited about not just the car, but the process. And as you said, when they're done, they're like, oh, I've got this beautiful car now, but now the journey's over. When's the next journey going to start again? And then they're going to ask for the next latest and greatest car.
But the same token, you also like the Carrera RS Tribute, the one with the U.S. flag on it. I was in sales a long time, and I found that the customers don't want to make choices. They would rather you tell them what they want to buy, and if you tell them that's the best to buy, that's what they'll buy. And so we know a couple people that bought these special edition RSs, and they loved what was done, how Porsche presented it, and they didn't want anything else. It was like, this is the one I want. It's very limited. It's exclusive. It's exactly where. Then other people will find that car boring and say, no, I want this special color. I want this, and this. And even with Mission X, so that becomes a built model. I'm sure there's people that are going to say, that's not exclusive enough for me yet. I got some other stuff done to make it
That's
special.
music to Alex's ears.
And what I learn and keep on learning from my colleagues of the design department, Michael Mauer and Grant Larson, is it's very difficult to find the right amount of things that you don't do. Because a lot of people then, as you just described, they want to have this and that and another color and another element and do the stitching like this and that, which is great in terms of creativity, but this doesn't necessarily lead to the best coherent
checking
design.
checking all the boxes doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a
resale value might not
Yes.
be quite as good as some other.
So who's in charge of gently explaining to a potential customer that while they may think they're creative, they're probably colorblind and don't realize what they're choosing?
That's why my colleagues are more psychologists than really car consultants.
Yeah.
Because of course you would say, well, we took your inspiration, but we came up with maybe 2 or 3 alternatives, and then you guide through, and you show the the differences, the advantages, in the end, if the customer says, no, I want to have these 6 different colors in the interior of my car, that's how it should be.
Yep.
Then it's fine.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be the judge of taste for the customer.
So Manny and I have not commissioned ourselves a personal car, but I feel as though we've gone through a little bit of that process, or we can relate to it because of the special projects that we've done with you, starting I think back in 2009 with the restoration of the 73 911T. And I just remember going, you know better than we do, and if you think it should be done that way, we'll roll with it. And that was even more prevalent when it came to the 60th anniversary Club Coupe. And then we went a little crazy when you came up with the idea with the 996 and doing a special project there. I think Manny was just trying to make up as many things that we can ask.
Well, I remember that Alex kept on saying that would probably not be possible.
But we had Uwe sitting at the table with us. Uwe Makrutsky.
I didn't think he spoke English because he just kept on saying yes.
Uwe Makrutsky. Mr. Yes man.
I will never forget this lunch. It was during Monterey.
It was
Harbor.
Yes. We were sitting, so Project Gold was sitting on the outside of the window.
Yes.
And we were at In and Out, but then we also did a formal meeting in the little house that they built next to Project Gold, and we took inspiration of all the things that you did there, and how can we build the ultimate 996? Man, did we throw out a lot of stuff.
Because we didn't want to use a 996 turbo. We agreed that that would be the easy way out, would be to use a 996 turbo, that we want to do something with a normally aspirated 996. And then I remember we brought up the GT3 engine. You said, nope, probably will never happen.
But not after Uwe.
The double bubble roof.
Maybe
that would be impossible. Everything we wanted, you told
Ducktail.
us.
Ducktail? We can do a ducktail? Well.
No.
I said it could be gray. The car could be gray.
The car could be gray.
could be great.
But everything we asked for on that list.
So that's when I left the ECF. Right after that, I finished my term. And then when I saw the car again, when I came to work for PCA, I was blown away when Vu told me all the stuff that you had approved and found a way to make possible. And suddenly, what I didn't want was a car that was going to be just what I called a fluff car, just some aero bits and nothing original. And I thought, wow, this is for a car company of Porsche size to do this. Just spoke volumes, because it wasn't something they were taking parts off a shelf and putting it on this car. They was parts they had to design for the first time, and as it turned out, it was just for one car only.
Yeah.
So that's
and then you have to do it to your manufacturer versus some local shop that's doing it out of his shop and not having to worry about legal ramifications and truly measuring the aero and how it affects. Like, we've talked about that many a times on the podcast of how technically more advanced this car is in terms of the build than other cars, which we have great respect for, Sally Carrera, Project Gold. But the Classic Club Coupe is like, it's a whole nother level of technical build.
I fully agree. And it's really unbelievable what the team was able to realize, because I was quite convinced that some of the wishes won't be fulfillable.
nightmares.
But I'm so proud and so happy. First of all, that you like it, because we built it for you.
Like
and
it,
it was
you love it.
You love it.
Yeah.
I love it. When I first saw it, and I have to start differently in the course of this project over like 2.5 years, 3 years. With every meeting, when they told me, we think we really found a solution for that. It was so amazing. How this project grew, and how the confidence also grew, and the complexity was unbelievable. Also, when it came to the question of making it street legal, and I think we can point that out very openly. This car is a different level in comparison to Project Gold, which is not street legal, or Sally Special. Both projects very emotional, very different topics, different background, but from a technical differentiation, the product substance of the Classic Club Coupe, outstanding.
I'm sure there was a lot of things that went on behind the scenes to make sure it all worked.
Oh,
you know,
absolutely.
so,
Again, we've talked about it, and we've covered it in articles and the videos. Hopefully, you've seen. We're just so proud of it. We're so proud of it, especially those of us that are 996 owners. I mean, I've got to say, this is the best 996 in the world.
It's my favorite.
And that's the like the cherry on the cream in our activities to make. Is that allowed to say? The 996 great again? And sexy again.
Yeah.
Because
it's always been great.
We took it over to the classic assortment already in 2016, I think it was. All the cars, that's not specific for Porsche, they go through different life cycle phases. But I think when we started to work on the 996 again, building up new marketing material, new pictures, putting effort into the parts availability, coming up with the Porsche Classic communication management, which is like a rejuvenate for the car, and then finally with this project, I think this gives the 996 a complete different taste.
And probably the best experience I've ever had is earlier this year when I got to visit your new facility, and the workshop has photos of the Classic Club Coupe around the perimeter. The only car that is featured in the workshop, and we met everybody that worked on the car. That was just an amazing experience to know that this car is what they choose to inspire them on a daily basis.
Robert, go back to that other picture you were just at.
Yeah.
What's that 1/18 scale model? Did he sell that?
That's the classic. That's the
Sport Classic.
That's a Sport Classic.
Yeah.
Oh, I got excited that you made it a 96 Classic Club Coupe model. I have that one.
All right, so do you want the insider?
Yes.
We're having the 1/43rd scale arrive.
Is there only one?
Huh?
Is there only one?
Maybe.
That means no. There's going to be more than one. At least I hope.
Yes. Yes.
No 1/18th?
No 1/18. 1/43rd. Yeah. All right. So back to our projects with you, and how have things changed since 2009, getting involved with PCA and being in charge of Classics, the growth of Classic, and I see so many responsibilities now. How does it feel? I mean, you look exactly the same. You haven't changed. The side that we see is still the happy-go-lucky
Yes.
Alexander. So
that will always be the same when I can spend time together with you. You will always see me smile. And as you were just talking, I was thinking about the most important things didn't change. I'm very thankful for being involved with this brand, with these people, being thankful for having the opportunity to have a job where you can give people a big smile in their faces, and you can see in the end the result of what you're doing. You're standing in front of many cars that are individualized or restored. And what did change? Of course, we grew in terms of scale a little bit. For example, in 2009, when we first met, I think the youngest car in the classic range was the 993. Since then, it's 996, it's E1, it's Carrera GT, and it's 997 since January this year.
That's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Think how old we are.
Well, and that's
997 is a classic car already.
That's what's important for our listeners to know is Classic is responsible. We always talk about how 70% of Porsches are still on the road. That's only possible because the manufacturer has, your department in there making sure that, obviously not all cars have every single part available, but the key parts, the things that you absolutely need to keep your car on the road, Classic is still there every day evaluating and producing parts that you need for your car.
Well, that's correct, and the logic is that 10 years after end of production, we take over the responsibility for the model line, and we, as you described, we analyze the parts availability not only in our assortment range, but also what's available from the original supplier side, for example, companies like Mahle and Bosch and others, but also in the aftermarket, because our priority is to keep the cars running, to keep them on the road. The cars have to be driven. That's our main task to fulfill. And we, of course, have to make sure then that the parts that are not available somewhere else, that we invest heavily in new tools, finding new suppliers, and come up with new additions, what we call it, to release the parts new into the assortment range. And at the same time, we offer in the factory restoration back home in Stuttgart, but also in Atlanta, in the headquarters of Porsche Cars North America, in One Porsche Drive. Also restoration services and Sonderwunsch manufacture services for customers directly.
And then the growth of the Classic centers at all the dealerships around the world.
That's true. In the meantime, we have 4 standalone Classic centers and more than 80 Classic partners that are Porsche dealerships that are specifically qualified and certified to work on Classic cars, and it's counting up. There will be more, so we really want to ensure, on the one hand, with the parts availability, that the cars can still be in operation, and with the service availability in our dealerships, that you have on a regional scale the right know-how available for your cars.
Yeah, and that's great, because we were talking. I was in another car meet, and we were, as most people know, I like a lot of cars, not just Porsche. And we were talking about, I think we were talking about like a Saab Vigan. I don't know if you remember, those are cool cars, but people like that are petrified to buy a car like that because they just can't get parts for them anymore. Like the only way you can get a part for that car is to buy another one and have a second parts car in your house. And so to have a manufacturer not only come out with amazing new models, new technology, and get all the modern conveniences that you want, but still focusing on the cars that are from the past that we all love, keeping them on the road, that just makes the brand that much stronger.
One aspect that changed since over the last 15 years is that next to the priority of having cars originally restored, you have a growing community that loves to individualize also classic cars. And we came up with a new offer which we call recommissioning, which is the idea that, for example, for a customer who has bought a Carrera GT, not as a new car, but as a used car, we can open up virtually the configurator again for this customer, and he can have the feeling of being a new car customer. He brings the car back to the factory, we bring it into a technical, like, new car condition, and at the same time the customer can specify and configure the car to his taste, not only with the options that have been available back in the days, but also with everything that he can imagine. And in the end, and that's, I think, the differentiation to what maybe others could also do, we also update the production card in our archives. So there is kind of a second birthday of the car with the new configuration that is delivered to the customer.
Can do non-customers ever see, or people who don't have a used Porsche they bought, want to recommission? Are we able to see these configurators? That would be super cool, I think, to see a revived configurator from 2006 or 7.
I think it's probably very individualized, right?
We are working on that. You have the first glimpses you find on the homepage, which in the Techquipment area, our technical accessories offer. We call it the Techquipment Finder, and there it's a very core configurator which shows for the older cars.
The equipment options back then that were offered back then.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you
Check that out.
can see it on the car,
Yeah.
like the wheels, for example.
Yeah.
So we are looking into that if we can
that's
make
super
that
cool.
more
be cool.
complete.
That'd be
but
fun
as-
to just go and like play around with it.
What was available for my car back then?
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't necessarily know that.
Yeah.
But as Manny just said, for the individual projects that we are working on, it's very customer specific. So it would be a bit overdone to come up with a technical IT solution because it's very
In case
made
any listeners are
specifically.
wondering, my wife asked us they cannot recommission husbands.
She's right outside the door too. we should
Close
bring
it,
her.
close it.
We should bring her in. So if you
You
could
know, when we got married, I was thinner and I had more hair.
if we could
and-
recommission Manny, what option would you take, or what option would you leave out?
Right? Yeah, exactly. What,
Well, you look factory new to me.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Oh, that bro love.
I'm
That's
definitely,
the bro love.
I'm definitely classic.
Yeah, vintage.
yeah.
Vintage.
A young timer.
All right, so let's get into. We have not too much news, but we already at the top of the hour here. So, your favorite topic, the next one in news has to do with Formula E.
Oh yes, I'm a
You are number one fan.
passionate.
Number one fan.
I'm a passionate
Passionate
fan of Formula E. We are back on
There
top
you go.
of
Yeah,
the
there
of
you go.
the.
After a couple months of not being on top.
Yeah.
I have to say, the racing when we had that little office watch of the man, the racing's close.
Yeah, super close.
It's hard to relate, on the street circuits, but man, like maybe one day those things will be a mix of city streets, city circuits. And
Is this going to be
tracks.
the last year for Formula E for Porsche, or are they going to continue? What do you think?
that is a pointed question.
And the next news item that we want to go into. Oh, this one also will be fun.
Read his reaction.
No, I'm to be honest, I'm pretty sure we will continue the.
You're on
the
top. Why wouldn't you continue?
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
The fun starts now.
Yeah.
And of course, it gives a lot of feedback and know-how back to the development colleagues and the engineers, which goes into the projects of our street cars.
Yeah.
So of course we,
So
benefit from it.
it's also truly a racing laboratory for you as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the good thing is, it's hidden from the public audience.
Mr. Fabig. Mr. Fabig. All right, here we go. So the next one, this one might also be a little sensitive because someone took a title away from you, and this has to do with the Nürburgring and the Tesla.
Yes, Tesla, for now,
For now.
holds the fastest. Although, from what I've read, their production car
Yeah.
was, I think, was highly
Are
modified.
you doing air quotes when you say their production car?
Yes.
Yeah.
Big air quotes.
Well, it had the track pack, so it finally had brakes that could stop
but I think it was
the
more
car.
than just that. I think the interior was missing parts.
No, yeah.
But like Damon said earlier, I think it was also funny that the great yoke was gone. and it was a
right?
regular steering wheel.
Yeah.
Says a lot because
does.
I know I've never driven the yoke, so I can't really comment on it. But from listening to other people that have driven it on YouTube and podcasts, they are not fans of it.
Yeah. No, it's, the back and forth that we like to see because I feel like, what was it? The Taycan was faster and then the Model S was, and then
They're pushing each other.
They did some modification.
No,
or,
Porsche still holds a record overall with the Evo. I don't think they beat the Evo time.
no, this is for
yeah,
just
this is
production.
production car, yeah.
The 919 Evo, I mean, that was a 519, I
Yeah.
think, right?
Yeah,
that's
that's-
gonna be a while
gonna
before
hold, yeah.
that's.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that video, just Google 919 Evo Nürburgring, and it looks like the video is sped up, but it's not.
It does.
It is.
But that was a race car.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even meet a sanctioning body.
But the
so-
fact that Porsche still owns the record as the fastest at
Yeah.
the ring,
Yeah.
so
And the
matters.
driver of that car literally said there's more in the car, but it's
too fast.
I don't have any more in me.
Like you said, his vision was blurring.
His vision
like
was blurring, yeah.
It was insane.
But I mean, we like competition, so
yeah,
so
for
of course
sure.
you can. There are some topics that you can question about the Tesla, but in the end, it sets the new record. So we, of course, take notice of that. We don't like it, of course not. So the race is
on.
We've seen some Nürburgring shots with some bigger spoilers on Taycans and whatnot. So we're hoping.
We say in racing, everyone in front of me is cheating. Everyone behind me is a very good driver.
All right, so here, Robert, you probably want me to remind folks if they haven't signed up for our newsletters, be sure to go to pca.org. You can sign up for e-brake news as well as performance news and Mart Fresh news.
I thought I should remind Robert reminded me of this earlier, but I didn't see the text. Was we shipped out Project 964 today.
Oh,
it's going to California for a parade.
thank you, reliable carriers.
Yes, they came to pick it up. Dennis, the driver, and it should be there in a week. It'll be out all week at Palm Springs. Then you'll see it again at Works Reunion, Monterey. Then again at Rensport, and then hopefully it'll finish its tour of California in Unstock, down in Southern California. And a lot's been done to the car. If you haven't seen the car recently, HRE gave us some awesome wheels. Everyone loves these wheels. Recaro gave us just a spanking new interior. We got the car lowered by KW suspension. Porsche Classic got us parts.
For the radio.
Everything to make it run.
Yes.
And everything to make it run,
We put basically turbo brakes on it, upgraded the brake system. A lot of partners at Speed Motors, Ralph's Auto Service.
Europros took care of
Europros,
some.
the windshield rust, fixed that.
Ceramic Pro brought that shine
Yes,
back
yeah,
big
we talked
time.
about that last week. It's a neat little car that we really brought to life. And most of all, believe it or not, for 964 owners can appreciate this. I knew it was going to be in California. I knew we weren't going to drive it that much in California, but I wanted the AC working, and I figured this car sat for over 10 years. So I wasn't expecting much, and lo and behold, Bob from Speed Motors called me up and said it's working and it's holding.
Perfect.
So I drove it back from the shop, and it was nice and cold.
Special little car.
I think that this is a good point actually to talk about some of the videos we filmed. 3 or 4 videos that will be coming out soon-ish. One of them is, and you can vouch for me now because you've seen some of it. The suspension, the KW suspension install video is almost done. I've gone through all the footage and I'm editing it, just racing to get it up before parade. So if you hear this podcast on Monday, really aim to get that video out sometime Tuesday. Probably not for e-brake, but have it ready. And it's probably, from what it looks like, you can probably use this as a how-to install suspension. So
Very good. Well, that was the whole point for the previous owner of this car to donate this car to PCA because he loved what we were doing with technical information and videos, and he wanted us to use that car as the platform to show people how's it done. So, awesome. Let's see. Any other quick updates on videos that are coming?
Watch Manny's Sport Classic video. I loved it. I loved watching that. I wasn't there to hear what he thought about the car, but really great job.
I'll give Damon credit. He makes me look good. He wrote the script. I just read. And he produced the whole film. I just I was a pretty talent.
Yeah, well, except for the part where you drove the car, right? So look forward to that. That was a really good video.
The rest is all Damon's credit.
Alex is laughing so hard.
Those are the 2 big ones. And then I think, what was the other video?
What about Nathan's video? Is that coming out soon?
Nathan. So Nathan, we know you all loved the Carrera 3.2 video about everything you need to know about that car. Well, there's a part 2.
He goes so nerd out on this video.
So for all of you wondering how to inspect a car from underneath, look at all the mechanical parts, the paint, the interiors, and this is a very general sort of, you can take this video and go to any Carrera 3.2, so 84 to 89, and really probably learn how to do a better inspection than your local shop.
And even though he's focusing on a 3.2, there's I would say more than half of it would apply to any car that you're looking at in terms
Yes.
of how to tell if a car is painted, the different depths of paint that's on a car, whether or not, you want to smooth out the orange peel and stuff. I mean, he just goes, as Manny said, he just nerded out, and it's a lot of information that will be useful for not
His videos
only-
are like an hour long, but they go by so fast you don't realize you've been watching it for an
Yeah,
hour.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So thank you, Nathan, for doing that for us. We certainly appreciate that. Okay, we also have the deep dive into the 911 Dakar Rally package that was filmed at Tech Tactic East earlier this year. And thank you to Robert for filming that and putting that all together. And Christoph.
Do you know Christoph?
Yeah, he's a colleague of Boris's team.
Correct.
My fellow Cal State Fullerton Titan went there for 6 months.
Yeah. So all you need to know about the Dakar. So upcoming events, we do want to remind you, if you're coming out to Run Sports 7, consider volunteering. We've said it before how much fun it is to do so. You can sign up to do that. September 20th through 24th is Treffen Gateway to the West, the Ritz-Carlton experience, as I like to call it. That registration opens June 28th, and I believe Manny has plans to bring on the Treffen chair to give you all some details of it, because you'll want to know and make all of your selections for registration sooner than later, because you need to get through Treffen registration quickly so that you can ensure that you'll get in, because they've sold out in as little as 8 minutes. Don't be mad at us. There's only so many slots, but if you're efficient and you listen to us in terms of how to register, your chances are better than most. All right, support your local dealers this week. Well, this would have been last weekend. Yeah, you should have taken this off. But hopefully, by the time you're listening to this, you did support your local dealers as they celebrated Porsche 75th anniversary on Saturday, June 10th. We've gotten so many invitations.
Maybe by the time you're listening, maybe you're celebrating a Porsche win, the 20th at Le Mans.
At Le Mans.
Most certainly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even a class win, I'll be happy with the class
Yes.
win. I want T-Rex to win, the dinosaur. You
And
seen
then-
that car?
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I like.
And by the time you listen to this, we will know who the lucky owner of the Classic Club Coupe will be, and how much it went for. It's really interesting, because we all know it's one of one, and it could. Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Like, we tried to call Sally Carrera, we couldn't. Project Gold, we tried to call that one, and we were so
off on all of them.
We wouldn't have
Oh
won.
my
So
God.
any of
under
those,
probably, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Project Gold, we were really off.
Yeah.
And we've been always together.
And
for
we're
all
gonna
these
be
auctions.
together.
We will be together
I'm not
again.
going to be there.
You won't be there.
He won't be there. I will be there in his place.
Maybe I can get you in the carry-on luggage.
Oh, nice.
Try that.
All right. So if you don't have anything else around the table,
I'm good.
Alex, thank you so much for joining us. It's truly a pleasure. I know you have had less than 24 hours with us, so you have to make other plans to come back and spend more time with us. We're going to sign off. Thank you for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and you own a Porsche, grab that VIN, go to PCA.org and join PCA. If you're looking for your Porsche, we have the test drive program, and we can help you find your car. Remember to follow our podcast Instagram page, behind the scenes photos and videos, Porsche Club Insider, all one word. Please comment, like, subscribe. If you want to send us a note, you can send us a note at podcast@pca.org. And again, that's it. We'll see you next time. Stay safe, and we'll catch you down the road.